But you can't serve anybody if you're starving. Like if you can't feed your family, how can you help your clients?
Welcome to Between the Briefs, a podcast by Steno. We're here to bring you practical tips, expert insights, and real conversations about the pre-trial process, court reporting, and the legal technology shaping the future of litigation. I'm your host, Adrian.
And I'm your host, Joe Stevens. Whether you're an attorney, paralegal, or just curious about how technology is changing the legal industry, we've got something for you. Each episode will break down complex topics, share behind-the-scenes intel, and talk to the people leading innovation in and out of the courtroom. So grab a coffee and let's get into what's happening between the briefs.
Hello and welcome to Between the Briefs, brought to you by Steno. We're your host. My name is Adrian.
And I'm your co-host, Joe Stevens.
In this episode, we're excited to welcome Kella T. Parks, one of two managing members at Parks Ziegler, PLLC. Kellam is an experienced attorney with a strong focus on cybersecurity, data privacy, and complex family law and civil litigation matters. He's built his firm to be a model of modern efficiency, using cloud-based technology to streamline operations and provide clients with accessible, high-quality legal representation.
Kellam's approach to law firm ownership is a true reflection of the 21st century legal practice, and he's deeply passionate about leveraging technology to improve client services and internal operations. He's also known for his advocacy of embracing innovation in the legal field, especially for small and mid-sized firms looking to compete in a rapidly changing market.
Kellam, welcome to the show. It's fantastic to have you here with us today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you for having me.
Of course. So let's take our audience right to the beginning. What got you into law and what got you to specialize in your current field?
Sure. So, as a small kid, I loved to argue and I always thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I went to college thinking I wanted to do business and found out, wow, I really hate macroeconomics. I found philosophy as a major, which I didn't even know what that was. Quickly realized that unless I want to teach or panhandle, it's not a really good major to make money. So I sort of fell back into the law and I thought I was going to prosecute. So I geared my education at William & Mary to prosecute. And then I realized again, late when I was about to graduate, hey, I can't afford to prosecute. I need to make money to pay off my loans. So I jumped into the civil world. And so I've been been a litigator now for 25 years. Though I have transitioned to really enjoying the business of law more than the practice, though I still do practice. So that really led me to that. And I started my own firm in 2012, in large part because I wanted to embrace modern technologies and sort of figure out a more modern way to practice law. Lawyers are not known, as you gentlemen know, for being particularly tech savvy. So I thought I could distinguish myself. And we did. We were paperless back in 2012, which was pretty radical.
Let's go into that a little bit more, Kellam. So what else was true in the legal practice back then or even now, that you were actively sort of differentiating yourself from?
Sure. So the biggest one is technology overall. So not even just digitizing or being paperless, but it's simply not trying to do things the way that they've always been done since the 1800s. So I believe in efficiencies. We still have the billable hour here for a lot of our cases, but we're trying desperately to come up with a better model, some sort of flat fee shifting type model, because it just doesn't do well for efficiencies. And then we use technology across the board. So whether it be now AI, is the big one. We use AI internally. I teach a lot of CLEs on AI. I use AI personally and professionally across all my businesses, including the law firm. But whether it be digital, whether it be communications, I use a digital court reporter, for instance. So I have a court reporter that records it and uses software to transcribe it instead of the old stenography, because it's people can't talk over each other, which is a really good one, a good reason why. And I also use products like you guys. I mean, I love that you guys are integrating AI with your Transcript Genius portal. Just basically using AI, however you can, and technology into sort of across all aspects is something that we really focus on here.
You mentioned when you started your firm, you wanted to do it because you saw the opportunity to integrate law and technology. What at that time did you realize, whoa, there's a huge open wide field for me to implement new things? And what was the technology at that time that really gave you that aha moment that there's a cross-section here that you should take advantage of.
Sure. Yeah. So really it was two things. One, it was the actual practice of law part, and the other part was the business of law. So I was at a law firm, a great group. They had 30 attorneys. They've got about 100 people. They're still around. As a matter of fact, I'm having drinks with one of them next week. Um, but at that size, they were kind of hampered by the ability to turn quickly and adopt new things. And so they didn't advertise online. A larger firm had business clients. So I wanted to take advantage of digital marketing, SEO, website use, which is obviously different these days than it was in 2012, but it was a thing. And then from the technology part of view, again, we had a practice management system, but it was an older one. It was Practice Master, which has been around since the 70s. It was local install. Again, better not having anything, which a lot of lawyers didn't at the time and still don't, which shocks me. But I really like the idea of cloud-based. And so in 2012, there were only three, to my knowledge, in 2012. There was a Clio, Rocket Matter, and something called Houdini ESQ, which I don't think is around anymore. So Clio was sort of a new kid on the block, big back then, and obviously, huge now. And so that's what we did. I got into Clio, which allowed me, between that and the paperless and all the other systems and automations and workflows and that sort of stuff, it allowed me to compete with much larger entities. Because when I launched, it was myself and my older sister who I brought with me to convince her to move back down here to help me out.
What were some things that it enabled you to do that allowed you to compete?
Sure. So, one of the best examples I have, and I just did a CLE on Friday to a statewide organization talking about use of technology and why being paperless is a big deal. So give you an example. In 2012, I had a 5-day jury trial, and it was a really nasty neighbor dispute case. And it was like 3.5 years of stuff that had happened. Opposing counsel had 15 banker boxes full of documents. I had my iPad. I think I was using Exhibit View at the time, which is like transcript pad, to do a trial thing. And I was able to, digitize. And where that really came into play is the other party got on the stand and lied about something that she admitted to in discovery and in deposition. So I didn't expect her to say what she said. And as she's in direct with her client or her attorney, I was able to find the document, pull it up, put it into the thing, and then I was able to shoot it up on the screen, blow out the part where she had lied about it in front of a jury, which was huge. And that was an example that was 2012, right? So we're talking, that 13 years ago now. And so now we're doing the same kinds of things, but we're using AI. So now I'm able to feed 3 years worth of text messages into AI to be able to evaluate. For instance, if there's an allegation that the party, they're using bad language and that's part of the orders, you have to be nice to each other. I can now, instead of having my paralegal charge them $10,000 to go through 3 years worth of text messages, I can feed it into AI and say, this is what I'm looking for. And I can get 85 to 90% of that instantly and free.
Wow. I'm sure there's a big training component of this, especially when you bring people into your firm. How do you make sure that they're kind of adept with technology and can understand your current systems and workflows?
Yeah, so we start with a job ad. So we again, is sort of a smart way to do it is our job ads are different. So our job ads start right away with sort of a catchy title, and then we address it about why, what we're looking for in a person and why we would be a good fit, more about just what the duties are. And so one of the standard paragraphs that we've had for a long time is essentially, we're a technologically forward company. If you're not comfortable with technology and learning new things and being willing to experiment and take the time to learn, this is not the right fit for you. We're not your father's law firm, is what we say. So we tell them right away, this is what we're about. And we ask them questions about that in the interview. And then for a lot of our positions, we actually do paid time at the firm. So we'll pay them for a couple of hours of work or half a day, and we walk them through, because you can tell me you're good at technology, but let's see that. So we spend a lot of time making sure that we find the right people. And then when they get here, I would love to tell you that we're better than we are about training. I mean, we do train, and I think we're better than most lawyers. We still fall shorter than I'd like at times, but we do try. We have documented systems, procedures. We put them with the knowledgeable people, and we really try to take the time to train them on the systems to make sure they get the most out of what we're paying for and to be able to help us run the firm and help our clients.
Kellam, help me understand the shifting economic landscape of running a firm now. I mean, you just talked about a paralegal billing, a great deal of money that was just commonplace to try and track down a number of text messages. You can do that instantly. Therefore, there's costs that just money being saved. I mean, expand that for me. Like, what does this actually mean to how law firms are able to hire, to the volume that they can take on, to the way, what's going to happen to the billable hour, things like that. I mean, how is it really upending your day-to-day practice?
Sure. So right now it isn't all that much because most lawyers don't use AI. So again, we're always lagging. Lawyers as a whole lag behind most industries when it comes to technology, but it's not something that they're going to be able to. So lawyers traditionally have been able to ignore some of the modern technologies because they don't feel like it. AI is just honestly you're not going to be able to do that. So we want to stay ahead. So what does that mean? I really do think, and people have said this for years, that, oh, the billable hour is going to go away because clients don't like it because it's uncertainty. They don't, and the smaller clients don't like it because they don't call you because they don't want you to bill for them for every call. So maybe now they're not telling you what you need to know. Larger clients don't like it because, they feel like they're being taken advantage of because the bill's so high. Lawyers shouldn't like it because you're trading your time for money. And even though hourly rates can be good, you're still trading your time for money. And that's just not a great environment, and it breeds inefficiencies, and I don't like it. People have said it's going to go away. It hasn't. I honestly do believe that AI will make it a thing of the past eventually. So what does that look like? Well, ethically, and again, I just taught about this last week, so it's fresh in my mind, but the ABA's ethical opinions on it have said, look, you can't, if it's hourly, you can't bill for what should take 10 hours. You can't bill if it only took 15 minutes, which makes sense, right? Because you've made an agreement that this is how we're billing you. It's interesting is some states have actually found that even if you have a flat fee component for the time savings that you have, you shouldn't be gaining advantage for the efficiencies. Virginia actually has a proposed legal ethics opinion that had comments closing, I think, just 2 weeks ago. I'm pretty sure it's going to pass, that says, look, you can't do it for hourly obviously, because that's not what you agreed to do. But if it's a flat fee, we're not going to tell you that it's the de facto unreasonable for your fee, that's the test, is your fee reasonable? If you've built in efficiencies, because who's to say you didn't spend 100 hours training the AI? It always has to be reasonable, so you can't gouge your clients, which I hope people aren't doing. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do here is build in flat fee pricing, and whether it's tiered. There's a really great attorney, Lee Rosen, who ran a very successful statewide practice in North Carolina for many years. Family law, he sold it, and now he does coaching. He did that. He did tiered flat fee pricing for complex divorces and family law for years. And it worked really well because he had figured out in the model, this is how much time it usually takes. And in some cases he would lose, but in most cases he would get a multiple of what maybe the hourly rate would have been. And so, it's a long way of answering your question, Joe, is that at the end of the day, you have to understand the efficiencies here because it's going to change the game. The clients are going to expect it. Ethically, we have to be reasonable in our fees. And so we're really exploring that. To the extent that we're doing hourly work, we really want to try to build in some sort of flat fee or tiered pricing. It is, and very fast. I mean, AI changes it's faster than any technology we've ever seen. So it's not something you can sit on.
So this could actually be the one time in history where the billable hour might actually die.
It might. I hope so. I don't like it.
So a lot of these law firms, like you mentioned, are kind of stuck in the past. What piece of advice would you give them just to get started, to get their foot in the door of just becoming a little bit more technologically advanced or really adaptive in the right direction? What should they begin with?
Sure. So, at the very base level, and this isn't even really the practice of law, but is find a good IT person or company. So you don't have to be super tech savvy. Like, I'm a tech geek, right? I think behind me you can see the Star Wars, right? So I'm a geek by nature. But it's not a good use of my time to do the tech anymore. Like, I shouldn't be building the computers or solving the printer problems. But for people that aren't tech savvy, and you should have somebody that knows what they're doing. And that also extends again to my practice area, which is cybersecurity, data privacy. Not only do you have a business responsibility, but we have an ethical duty to maintain our client confidences. So you might actually have bar problems, licensing problems if you're secured. So step one is find somebody that knows what they're doing to protect yourself and educate you on the basics. You don't want to go out and institute a cloud-based practice management system and not have the things in place to make sure that the digital stuff you're working on is safe. And then as far as the nuts and bolts and practical part of it is, be curious. So I'm a YouTube junkie. I get and by that, I don't mean watching, funny videos or movie clips, though I do. It's I spend a lot of time watching YouTube professional videos. I follow a lot of people that are thought leaders in AI space or technology space or law firm ownership and management space. And it's amazing that these content creators are so good at absorbing the information and giving it back to you. So be curious. And then the third step I'll say is join groups, get coaching. So, selfishly, I'll say that I like it so much that I actually am I have a law firm coaching business that I've launched that I'm hard launching in June. And that's part of what I'm doing. I'm talking about technology. And there's many others. I'm part of, I pay to be part of 4. So, be curious, go out and hang out with other lawyers that know this stuff, spend the money to be part of coaching because, no elite athlete is where they are without coaching. You're a lawyer, you might be the best lawyer in the world, but they don't teach you how to run a law firm in law school generally. They're a little bit better now. So I think those 3 things are great recipes to get you moving forward.
Kellam, what are most practitioners getting wrong about AI right now?
Wow, a lot. I don't know if we have enough time, but I'll start with, first of all, they're ignoring it. Most practitioners I know, so at this conference I was talking to, there's, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 lawyers in the audience at the time. And I said, well, how many people use AI? And actually most people raised their hand. I said, all right, well, how many people are using it in your law firm? 3 people raised their hand. So most lawyers I know aren't really using it. And if they're using it at all, they're using it as, oh, well, I have Lexis or I have Westlaw, so I'm using it for a little bit of legal research, which by the way is great. That's a great start. So we have a couple of newer attorneys. They just got licensed in Virginia. And so when I started, I'm old enough that we had to go to the books, right? But let's just say not that old. But 5 years ago, they go to Lexis and they type it in, but they're still going to spend a couple of hours wandering in the woods in the wrong direction, reading cases that have nothing to do with what they're looking for. And now I go, no, you guys need to go. We have Lexis. So I said, look, go to Protege, type it in. Now you have to go read the stuff. I said, I don't have to do that at 25 years. You have to go read the stuff, but it's going to save them hours and hours of wasted direction at the very least. But that's at most, that's what most lawyers are doing. They're not doing the extra stuff like that document review I was talking about, or even using it, more creatively. So there's a product I like called Udly, which allows you basically, it's basically a speech coach. So you're presenting some sort of argument or speech to them, and not only will it, using AI, not only will it evaluate how well you're speaking, whether you're clear, whether you mumble, whether you're using fillers, whatever, but if you tell it what you're trying to do, it will actually evaluate the content. So that is a fantastic way for opening statements, closing statements. I use Google LM I put in arguments and I go, hey, here's their brief, here's their argument, everything else. I want you to play the other side and I want you to, let's argue this. These are just tools that I use and a lot of them are free, that most lawyers don't even start to use. So they're just missing the boat overall.
Wow. We've had guests that have come on the show, and they also have an approach of being very technologically integrative with their firm. One of these is even in their marketing efforts. Have you seen that the traditional way of marketing a law firm is also changing, and have you implemented any of these changes yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in the old days, the old days again, the old days, you hang up a shingle and they'll come to you, right? Or direct referrals, you'll have plenty of business. By the way, a lot of our businesses, we have 13 lawyers, a lot of our businesses direct referrals. I love direct referrals. They're usually the best clients because you have the warm lead and they trust you and that's great, but that's no way to build a business. So you have to get business from the public. Well, how does that work? In the old days, you throw up a website, pay for some keywords, keyword spam your website, and that's that. Well, now they have everything from, Google LSAs to Google pay-per-click. You also, though, now have AI search, which, Google's share is starting to drop. But you have everything else, right? You have, most people are using their cell phones now, so you have to be in mobile. How are you getting in front of them? There's a million different ways. So we try to do everything from creative geofencing. So, hey, we do some criminal law. So, hey, if you're around the jail, maybe you'll see one of our ads. Or if it's, we even do some of the old stuff. So we have a more rural office in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, which is a small part of northeastern North Carolina. We have billboards. And I usually, as somebody that coaches businesses, I say, look, don't do billboards are for branding. So unless you're spending a lot of money on them, which is not a bad use depending on your size, don't do it. But we just have a handful of billboards because it's a small rural area and everyone drives by there, and that makes sense. So we're really, what I always say is it's multimedia, multimodal. So you want it in different avenues. You don't want all your eggs in one basket. You want to make sure that it's in different formats because you never know who's going to see it. So we advertise everything from direct local. We do speaking engagements. We support charities. We're online. We have websites, doing podcasts, for instance. So all that kind of stuff. And everyone's got strengths. So we have some lawyers that, if I told them they have to go give a speech, they're transactional lawyers, they'd hate it. I have other lawyers that if I tell them they have to, go participate in this group, they'd hate it. But I have other lawyers that love it. So we do things as a firm, and we also try to support each of our attorneys. We have our in-house marketing manager that's her job.
Let's speak more about those attorneys for a second. And what I'm curious about is, you just talked about a couple of younger associates that just recently licensed. It's my experience, because I also teach at a law school here in West Texas. It's my experience that their fluency with tech is tremendous, right? It's a language they've spoken for the entirety of their sort of lifetime in education. But then I'm interested in the skills, therefore, that might need additional developing, that maybe 20 years ago were a little bit more enhanced or farther along than they might be right now. Are you seeing that too? Are you seeing skills that might need a little bit more attention, but the text side of it is really, really, really high and savvy?
Yeah, it's interesting is I'm a little surprised because I've always been a tech guy. So I tell my daughter who's 27, I say, you have no idea how cool I would be today at 12, how uncool I was in the 80s at 12. Like everything I was into at 12 then in the 80s made me very not cool. But I'm tech savvy, so I understand that. But I am interested. I mean, our two younger attorneys are fairly tech savvy. But actually what's interesting, Joe, is I find is a lot of these people use tech, but they're not tech savvy, meaning they use the tech they use, like social media or whatever. But when it comes to, hey, I need you to use AI and here's how to use it, they're like, oh, I don't know about this, right? And so they're not as tech savvy as I would think. However, they are still light years away from most people my age. I'm 50 or older. However, as far as the skill set, 100%, which I was nodding earlier, because first of all, they don't understand the business of law, right? Because they've gone to law school and they've learned how to think like a lawyer. If they're lucky, they learn some valuable subject matter and what they want to practice. So maybe they know a little bit about the actual law. They have no idea how to actually practice law because that's different, right? What happens in court's a lot different than in the books. But what they also don't understand is the business part, which is the personal communications. So what we encourage to our lawyers to do is we each of them have a business credit card. We say, look, we want you to go out and socialize. We want you to, have lunch, have drinks if you drink, do whatever, participate in these things, participate in bar associations. Again, doing what you're comfortable. If they're introverts, we're not asking them to go out and have lunch every week and they'll be miserable. But hey, go write some articles or go do some whatever. So that part of the business they haven't really understood. And what we tell them is, look, like my partner and I, we're in our 50s. We've been around for a long time. We're both from the area that we practice in geographically. We know all the people at that level are older. But what we don't know is I don't know any lawyers in their 20s. I mean, I know who they are, but I don't know them. And those people are going to be the movers and shakers in 20 years. So we tell our younger attorneys, hey, your job is to go make friends with these. First of all, it's nice to have friends, but you're going to have cases with them. They're going to refer you business, and that's how it's done. So those sort of soft skills, I think a lot of times are lost because they live online. They work, they went through COVID, and they just don't understand the shaking hands and kissing babies.
You talked about this business of law. What other misconceptions do people have about it, or really any tips you would give a young lawyer getting into the business besides, you gotta shake babies and kiss hands? What other what other piece of advice would you give them to really get the wheels moving for the business of law?
Sure. So, look, there's a lot of things, obviously. The name of my company is The Motivated Lawyer. Motivate's an acronym. And it's sort of what I'm trying to do is hit every aspect of business ownership. I start with M, which is motivation, right? So that's like, what's your mindset, right? So what's the mindset of the lawyer? And you have to start there. And by that, I mean, I always ask lawyers sort of that want to practice law, and especially may want to own their own law firm one day, or try or own their own law firm. And it's, what at the end of the day, what do you like to do? Like, what kind of law do you want to practice, and what fulfills you? Because we're grinders by nature. And so I've worked 70 or 80 hours a week for 25 years on average, which is a lot. I'm trying not to do that. I'm working toward not doing that anymore. But and that's fine. But being busy doesn't mean being productive. And so what I really want even these young lawyers to do is look, it's not too early, at 26 or 27 years old, it's not a bad idea to say, hey, what do I like doing? And you're going to have to explore that. And I get it. And you're going to have to do a lot of stuff you don't want to do because we're going to make you, and you got to learn. But start to figure out what you really want to do, because life is really too short to be miserable at what you're doing. And that's a big part of the business, because you'll find if you become an expert in things you want to do and you can find a market in it, you'll be a lot happier and you'll make a lot more money. And so that's part of what I'm trying to teach some of these younger lawyers. And I think the business part of it. And then the other is have a plan and understand the business. So where do you want to go? Like, maybe you figure out what practice area you want, but do you want to be a solo? Do you want to have a partner? Do you want to build an empire? And then have a plan. Like we did that I always laugh, my partner and I always laugh that we've been successful despite ourselves, because for many years we got direct referrals. We did good legal work. We weren't complete idiots when it came to business, but we didn't have much of a real plan. And then we found Traction, which is a book written by Gino Wickman that's all about sort of business principles. He has the EOS system called Entrepreneur Organization System. We had a one-on-one business coach that we hired 2 years ago that's really helped us work through this. And now we're very systematic. We have a 5-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 1-year plan. We work on 90-day cycles. We have weekly meetings. We use KPIs and metrics to track everything. Here's how we run the meetings. Here's how we do everything. And that's that last component to begin. The beginning is really being organized and have a plan. And so there's so many more things, like how to hire people, how to have a team, use educate, all the different elements. But when you get down to it, it's got to be your mindset at the beginning and figure it all out, and then have a plan moving forward.
Can you give an example of a KPI that you use?
Oh, absolutely. And actually I really enjoy, I did a CLE last month to the ABA on this I did a whole hour on KPIs. And so you really should break it up within 5 areas. But you want to look at, okay, look, you have your numbers, the function of the firm. You want to work on the marketing part. Obviously, you want to figure out what the metrics of that. We do metrics on employee and client satisfaction. So you have financial, operational, marketing. I'm going to miss one. There's 5. Employee satisfaction. But so let's start the very easiest. Let's talk money. So what you want to do is when we talk about KPIs or key performance indicators, these metrics, if lawyers pay attention to the numbers at all, because a lot of lawyers just do the work, the money comes in, they take what they think they can take, they talk to their accountant at the end of the year. Okay, not a great way to run it. If they pay attention to maybe their monthly or quarterly profit and loss statements. The problem with that is that's backward looking. So those are the numbers that happened, and it doesn't give you any indications moving forward, really. It's like, oh, that would happen. So what's key is figure out these metrics and track them weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. And so give you a good example, figure out what your average case value is. So if you do family law, you say, okay, well, an average uncontested divorce maybe is $5,000, and it's more than that, but let's say it's $5,000. So now you know that every potential client that comes to you is worth $5,000. So now and if you have a conversion rate of 50%, so this is another thing you track in the that was the other one, client acquisition or intake, right? So you're like, all right, 50% of the people that come to me, we convert, which is low, but let's assume that is. So now if you want to make $50,000 a month, you need 10 clients. And if you convert half, you have to have 20 people come call you. And now hey, how much does it cost to get the 20 people to call me? And now you know what the average cost value is. So now I know how much should I spend on marketing. I'm tracking the people when they call. I know what my conversion rate is. And now I know how much money I'm making. And you track all of those and you work your way back. And so that systematically allows you to figure out, here's how much money I want to make or I need to make. And this is how much money I should be spending on it. And you track all of these kinds of things across everything. And, we can do that with our employees. Like, how much are they billing? How much are we paying them? We do that on marketing spends, and we break down the marketing spend. Hey, I'm doing a specific marketing ad buy. Here's how much money I'm spending on my marketing department. And we work on, and again, then you get to the soft stuff, which is we do net promoter scores to clients and employees and go, look, what are we doing right? What are we not doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? How happy are you? And these are just all, there's a million different metrics, but within those 5 areas, you really kind of break it down, and it allows you to systematically track it to be more successful.
Love this. It's like taking a software company approach to a law firm, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, a business is a business. And I mean, Adrian, it's astonishing. Again, I feel like, well, of course you know this. No lawyers. I mean, most don't. I didn't. It took me forever to sort of figure it out. My partner and I have really done I think, a pretty good job of getting there. And we're not perfect. We still have lots of holes. But again, they don't teach you the business of law generally in law school. They do a little bit now. I had the privilege of volunteering to be part of at Suffolk Law University. They have a whole course on law firm ownership management. And I was a case study for 2 students, and I talked to them a couple times, and they presented on the firm, and they're actually learning the nuts and bolts of exactly what we're talking about, which I was like, wow, 25 years ago, I would have loved that. But yeah, it's just a business. I mean, law is like any other business. You gotta, and I hear a lot of lawyers go, well, it's a calling and we have a duty, and I don't disagree. Like, I'm not, but you know what? You can't serve anybody if you're starving. Like, if you can't feed your family, how can you help your clients?
Great point. Great point. I would love to hear from you because you mentioned talking to those who've been in the business for a while and getting some insights from them. What mistake did you make early in your career or hurdle did you encounter that you can really just think back on and be like, man, if I could just tell someone, don't do this or prepare for this, it will
Right.
help you. What would you tell them?
I'm going to give you 2 for 1. So the easiest one is avoid shiny object syndrome. So it is almost universal that lawyers like the new and the shiny. We are as skeptical a bunch as we are easily duped by snake oil salesmen that say, oh, if you just hire me for this marketing or you just do this, it'll all be, I'll triple your whatever it is. Which is also instantly paired because most lawyers I know are also very tight with the dollar. So although we're attracted to the shiny object syndrome and we're willing to spend stupid money on that, we're not willing to spend the money on the core systems to run the law firm, right? This practice management system is really expensive. And my response to that, because they hear it all the time, is compared to what? Like, compared to what? Right? So give you great examples. There's a product called billables.ai, which we're currently demoing. And basically, if you pay month to month, it's $99 a month per user. Well, what does billables do? Well, it tracks basically everything you do. It tracks everything that you're doing on your web browser. It tracks all of your emails, and it uses AI to capture, because again, this is good for hourly, track the time. So you're no longer missing emails and you're not missing work, and you're able to capture all your time. And I did some rough analysis, and basically, even if we paid $99 a month per user and we did it across 30 users, we'd still make an 8 to 10 times ROI based on what the amount of money I know we're losing with lost emails because of our hourly rates. So when you tell me $100 a month times 30 is a lot of money, sure, but compared to what? And so that's the first thing is I would tell lawyers, don't be attracted to shiny object, like actually take your time to evaluate. Mind what you already have. I can't tell you how many people go, I hate my practice management system. I'm going to get a new one. Which one should I get? Oh, well, what do you have? I have Clio. Well, what's Clio not doing for you? Oh, it doesn't do this, 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 and this. I said, actually, it does all of those. But they just haven't taken the time to train, right? Now, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it doesn't do it. And we had Clio when we moved away because at the time it didn't do reporting that we needed to do, and it didn't have integrated accounting. And this is 10 years ago. But that's sort of like one of the big ones. And then the second one is when you do make a big purchase, try to exhaust the research. So one of the things we did is we went to a practice management system before the one we have now, and we spent, it cost us 6 figures probably over 2 years between out-of-pocket costs. And so the practice management system wasn't quite the right fit, but we had a third-party implementation company, which was horrible. And our data was lost and it was corrupted and we couldn't do this and my users were frustrated. And finally, some of my paralegals was like, hey, I'm going to quit if we don't do something else. And so we hired, we'd actually used a consultant, which I was very happy with, to help find it. Wasn't their fault. And I went back to them and I said, hey, let's try this again. But this time I had more of my user input and we went more for usability than feature rich. Again, I kind of got this because I'm a tech guy, right? I'm like, oh, the workflows are fantastic. Well, only if people use it and it works. So avoid the shiny object syndrome and really investigate when you're going to make big purchases or changes.
If you sort of shift your gaze ahead a little bit, Kellam, how disruptive is AI going to be to just the practice in general, specific to like personnel replacement? I mean, do you think that lawyers are going to be doing the same things in 10 years? Do you think 5 years or whatever? I mean, do you think that there's going to be a real replaceability or downsizing in personnel, or collapse in that regard? What do you think?
Yes, I do. I get asked similar questions all the, or is AI going to replace lawyers, basically, right? And I'll use the line. I didn't make up this line. I don't know who did it, but I use it all the time. AI isn't going to replace lawyers necessarily, but lawyers that use AI are going to replace lawyers that don't. And so AI is going to replace certain functions that lawyers do. So document review, contract drafting, simple wills, trust and wills, not even trust and estates, but wills. All of that stuff, there's no way that AI isn't going to completely replace lawyers doing that. There's no, right now in ChatGPT, even ChatGPT, which is not a legal thing, I can just say, hey, I'm in Virginia. I need a lease. This is what I'm looking for. It's going to get me 80% there. Just ChatGPT. And that's not even a legal thing. But if I go into a legal specific AI, which we use a couple, it will give me 99% of what I need. Now, and what I tell lawyers is, look, what your value is going to be twofold. One is litigation, right? So until the day that we have androids and whatnot, going to court and arguing is still going to be a human thing. But the AI assistance part of that's going to be a big deal. And the second is really where you're going. If you're a contract drafting person now, or you do a lot of transactional work, big M&A deals, that kind of stuff, your value is now shifted more to personal connections and strategy. You need to get away from, I'm just drafting a lease, to you should hire me instead of using AI. I mean, this is one of the big differentiators of LegalZoom. And we do that now. Matter of fact, we do a monthly newsletter, and I just approved the language, and it's all about why you should hire us to do trust and estates over LegalZoom, in essence. And it's because, look, they're great. And if you want a simple will and you don't have anything, it may be just fine. But odds are you don't know what you don't know, and maybe you have a trust, maybe you need a trust, or maybe you need some extra attention. And that's what we're providing is our expertise. My trust and estates lawyer is a certified financial planner. So what we're providing you is the expertise, experience, and that sort of thing. And so that's where I really see the differentiation. But as far as the basic level stuff, absolutely, it already has started to, but it's going to come pretty quickly, especially because again, AI is as worse as it's ever going to be today. And I don't know if you saw, Google just announced their big thing yesterday or the day before, and their new video thing is unbelievable. You can literally type in, hey, I want a musical based on Sondheim talking about garlic. This is one I saw about garlic bread. 99% realistic musical made about garlic bread shows up, and it's just from the text.
Yep, and it prompts audio too.
I know, it is amazing. So yeah, a big shift.
Massive shift, and scary direction, but at the same time, very exciting.
Well, that's why, I mean, again, that's why I've always liked you guys, because I really like the technology aspect and what you've got done with AI and the transcript stuff. That's the future. And so, the days that you can just sit on your laurels and do it as it's always been, I think is gone. And almost every industry, and lawyer is a big one.
I would love your take on when it comes to prompting. How have you found yourself getting better at using AI? Because everyone talks about, use AI, but what exactly does it mean to use it effectively?
Sure. So I actually there's a million different ways in doing it, but I found there's a guy named Dennis Kennedy who's a lawyer, and he runs he's part of a tech, I think he teaches, and he's also part of a tech think tank. And he came up with what he called the PCRO model. And what it is it's the 4 components. And so he starts with persona. And so basically you sort of frame, for instance, hey, you're a marketing expert, blah, blah, blah. So you start there. C is context, right? So this is the context in which I'm asking this question. This is why it matters. Let's see, PCRO. What's R? We'll go to O. So O is output. And R, I think, is role. Like, this is your role role in the environment. And so you sort of frame it up. And so, one of the examples that that I think stood out was like if a parent's trying to figure out, hey, I've got this kid party, I got to come up with some activities for, you could tell AI, give me 10 things for kids to do at a kid party. Okay, it's going to give you 10, but who knows? And on the other hand, if you say, hey, we're going to have 13 children, we have this, we have this much space, it's outside, the weather's nice, we have a kiddie pool, kids is your age, blank to blank, and we want, and they really love, physical activities. If you give it that kind of extra information, then it's going to pop out much more detailed things. And that's sort of that's how I use it. So when we go in, I'm very specific about what I'm looking for, what I'm needing. Quick example as far as prompting that really did well for us is we were looking for a new marketing manager end of last year, and we had our job ad, and I created a custom GPT, and I said, hey, here's our job ad. Here's some extra things I'm looking for. When I run you, ask for the cover letter and resume, and then give me an hour-long interview based on all of that information. And it gave me the standard question. It gave me some standard questions like, hey, our core, because we talk about our core values. Hey, about our core values. Tell me which one resonates most with you. But it also said, hey, I saw in your cover letter you did X. Tell me how that came about and how you would apply that at a law firm. And I didn't have to think. I mean, again, I have to tweak it. It took me 10 minutes maybe. And so that's a way that I was able to with these customized GPTs, I've got paragraphs and paragraphs of information and instructions. And so just the more specific you can be, the better. And it's practice. It's like anything. It's like writing or arguing, as a lawyer, you just got to keep practicing. And I go back to YouTube. I mean, I can't tell you how many I watch YouTube and they're like, oh, here's the best way to prompt with this thing. And I'm like, okay, I break that down. So don't be afraid to learn.
Yeah. Indeed. Kellam, I just have a quick theory. My quick theory on this is that you talked about watching people use technology.
Yeah.
Watching people write prompts to me is one of the most fascinating sort of modern psychologies that exist, because it is such a true revelation of how you actually exist in the world. Like how it's like watching a lawyer cross a witness. Are they asking compound questions? Is it thoughtful? Is it clear? Is it direct? Is it guided? Is it, or are you afraid? Do you not really know how to give the guidance that you want? Do you not know how to follow the 4 sort of things that you identified that I think make up a good prompt?
Yeah. No, I think it is. It's you're seeing them in action, right? And then they iterate. They go, oh, I could have done this better. And you kind of learn, and eventually, and then, every model is different. And people a lot of times ask me, which AI should I use? And I go, look, investigate them for sure. If you're already using one, likely you could stick with it. Like I got into ChatGPT early 2023. And so I've just stuck with ChatGPT. It does what I need it to do. I use other AI tools, but I don't use any other. I don't go to Claude. I don't use the Grok. I do Google LM, but again, that's a tool. I don't use Gemini. So they all have, some are better. Ethan Mollick is a really great guy to follow as far as the very specifics. Ali Miller is another woman who's really in the forefront of AI. And those two will tell you, this model came out yesterday and it's 47% better at this. I mean, I don't need that. I'm not that specific. I'm good.
Well, Kellam, this has been a fantastic conversation. And we always ask it at the end of our conversation, what is your hottest take on the industry right now?
AI. I mean, I feel like it's been tread, right? But AI is the hottest take is lawyers are missing the boat. I really think lawyers tend to ignore this stuff. They don't understand. I feel like, I'm out there prophesizing on AI. I don't get any money, by the way. I don't have any deals with ChatGPT or any of the AI companies. I probably should. But it's just, I really want to help other lawyers succeed. And you can work smarter and better, make more money for less effort, and then go out and do more good, have better clients, spend more time with your family. There's a reason why lawyers, unfortunately, are at the highest of mental illness and abuse, substance abuse, and all this sort of stuff. There's no, we don't need to get burned out like we used to. There's just no need for it. And so that's part of sort of why I'm doing the coaching and I'm really helping other people is, it's let me help you avoid what I've done for 25 years. You can work smarter, not harder.
Great point. Great point. Well, thank you to our audience for tuning into Between the Briefs, brought to you by Steno. Special thanks to our guest, Kella T. Parks, for sharing his incredible insights on the intersection of law, technology, and running a successful law firm. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and stay tuned for more thought-provoking discussions at the intersection of law, technology, and innovation. We'll see you next time. Up next on Between the Briefs.
I've always hated bullies and institutional hypocrisy, and I wanted to be able to fight for victims of those two things, especially the people that couldn't fight for themselves. I like being my own boss, and I like being able to pick the cases that I'm going to pursue so I can dig into the people that I believe are deserving.
Stay tuned for the full interview coming to you soon.
Between the Briefs is brought to you by Steno. To find out more about Steno and how we combine exceptional court reporting and litigation support services to deliver a superior litigation experience, visit steno.com. That's STENO.com. And then make sure to search for Between the Briefs in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. And click subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Steno, thanks for listening.